Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a first perspective on things and how we see them. And today's topic, the topic is the number one focus the Clippers need to have going into this year. So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out our Dreamerspro Podcast, which is linked in the description below. And also be sure to check out our Dreamerspro website, which we have coming in a few weeks, dreamerspro.com. So also be on the lookout for that, and we'll keep you guys updated as we roll that out. So anyway, let's just get into the topic here. Now, training camp starts today, right? Training camp starts today. We're shooting this video on December 6th, and training camp starts today. I think this is when teams can now start having full-on contact today. So I'm really excited about that, and the whole league is really opening up. We just had media week when players were addressing certain questions or whatever it is, and different teams were phasing in their players, in small groups because of COVID. So I think you can only have four players at a time, depending on different teams. But at least that's what I heard with the Clippers. Now, a lot has been said about what happened last season to the Clippers. A lot of people have sort of chimed in and given their 2 cents. And one of the two prevailing points that I've heard over and over again is, number one, they need a big man, so they needed to sort of shore up their defense and get a good defensive anchor and a good shot blocker that's athletic, and also get a point guard. These have been the two things that people have sort of lamented about all off season. Say they need to get these two things. They need to get these two things. These are the things that people always mentioning on TV. And to some extent, I do agree. They were able to pick up Serge Ibaka, which is a very important pickup because he stretches the floor. He's an athletic big. He can shot block and all of this. He can also roll to the basket. Very similarly like Montrezl Harrell, but he can also stretch the floor, which is something that's really good, which helps them with their spacing, doesn't clog up the lane, and creates more opportunities to drive to the basket. And he's a very versatile defender, and he's a bigger guy. He's a legitimate 7-footer. So they picked up Serge Ibaka, which is a good thing. Now listen, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and others have had some comments in media day addressing some of the big issues that they had last season. And Kawhi Leonard spoke to the fact that the team needed a higher IQ. They needed to be smart on the floor as a unit. If you didn't see that video, we're going to link that video at the end of this video so you guys can check that out where we cover that in detail. Paul George also spoke about some of the issues that the team had last season. He took accountability for the fact for how he played, for his lackluster performance in the playoffs. He addressed that. Marcus Morris also gave some comments, spoke about coaching. Coaching seemed to be an issue that many players pointed to, saying that Doc Rivers was not making adjustments during that Denver Nuggets series. So they said that, and the media has made their own comments. They said, now it's like they need a point guard, they need a point guard, they need a point guard. But for me, I think the most important thing the Clippers need, assuming they stay the same, assuming they don't get another point guard, assuming that they go into the season with the players that they currently have, and they don't make any trade deadline trades, anything like this, is I think the Clippers need more reps. It was something that Skip Bayless really hampered on last season, and I didn't really pay much attention to it. But it turns out the Clippers as a team, they did not get enough reps together, simple and plain. In one of the recent comments by Kawhi Leonard, I didn't even know that he wasn't available for training camp. I thought it was just Paul George, who was coming off of shoulder surgery last season. So I knew he wasn't available with the team for training camp when they were in Hawaii. He was there, but he didn't practice. But I didn't know Kawhi Leonard also didn't practice in training camp. And training camp, it turns out, is a very important part of the formula for success in the NBA. You need to practice with your teammates. And now, given the fact that everyone is going into this training camp healthy and everyone will be there from the start, I think it's a good omen for what's to come for this team. They need reps together, right? They need reps together. They need to play a lot of games together to iron out a lot of the wrinkles that they had last season, to discover what their tendencies are for various teammates. And I think they need to play at least 60 games together as a unit. Now, granted, health always plays a role, but if everyone's healthy, they need to play at least 60 games together. The season is only going to be 72 games, and they need a lot of reps together. They just simply need a lot of reps together. And chemistry is not just on the court, but off the court. And Kawhi Leonard spoke to this in his recent comments, saying that, hey, listen, it's not just enough for us to, practice on the court. We need to hang out together, go to movies, go to dinners together. And that's something he's going to work on. Now, given the fact that COVID is still present and is still part of the everyday life, the NBA just released some new guidelines and policies that now, for example, this season, players are not allowed to go to the clubs anymore. So that's one of the things. So they're trying to protect their players and also protect their product, because remember, this is a very lucrative league, and they don't want any of their players getting COVID, because when players start getting COVID, it's going to shut down games. You're going to start having restarts, and the season is going to take way longer than it needs to. So I understand that being part of the equation, but chemistry goes a long way, and these guys need to play together. They need to have more reps together. I don't think that team as a unit played more than 25 games collectively all last season. As a unit, I don't think they played 25 games. If you look at them in the bubble, players were in and out. Landry Shamet was in the bubble late. Montrezl Harrell came, then he left. Then Patrick Beverley was in and out of the lineup. So it was just a mess. And I think chemistry is what they need to focus on, and that means they need to get reps. Now, some people are going to say, well, you need to talk about your boy Kawhi, man. Kawhi he likes the load management. That's why I said at least 60 games. I didn't say they need to play all 72 games together. And if they have a very good seed in the Western Conference, chances are you're not going to play all 72 games, because maybe some teams will take off the last few games for, to rest for the playoffs and all of this. And so that's also reality. I just think they need at least 55 to 60 games together. Last season, before the shutdown, you saw that they were beginning to hit a stride because they were finally healthy and they were playing together, and then the pause came and then things just went away. So that's one of the things that they need to focus on. Another thing I want to address quickly before I end this video is the fact that a lot of people keep making a lot out of this thing about not having a point guard. And I'm tired of hearing it, to be honest with you, right? I'm kind of tired of hearing it. If you look at the Clippers, they are one of the most talented, deepest teams in the NBA. But for whatever reason, in this world we live in, we feel like our teams need to be perfect. Like we need to have the best player for every position in the league. And it's not true. For example, think about the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls only had, of the 5 positions on the court, they only had 2 players that were the best at that position. That was Michael Jordan at the shooting guard and Scottie Pippen at the small forward. They didn't have the best point guard in the league. They didn't have Gary Payton. Shaq was still playing in the league. They didn't have a Shaquille O'Neal, right? They had Horace Grant, but he wasn't the best power forward in the NBA. But people make this thing of it needs to be perfect for them to win, and it's just not the case. The Clippers need to make the best of what they have, right? Make the best of what you have. It's not going to be, you're not always going to have a perfect scenario to do things. It's not like as if everything needs to be there for you to now go out and have success. It's not always the case. Sometimes you make the best of what you have, and that's what they need to do. I'm not buying into that. If they get a great point guard, will it help? Absolutely, but a great point guard would help any team in the NBA. But I don't think it's something to hold them back, because if they don't do well, then it's going to be something they're going to blame. Well, we didn't have a good point guard. No, when you know good and well, do you have what it takes right now to win? Last season, they were picked to be the favorites. Vegas picked them to be the favorites, and they didn't have the best point guard in the NBA. So I'm not going to buy into that too much. Some people are making way too much out of it than they need to, and they're stressing themselves unnecessarily. So for me, I think they're good enough with what they have. What this team needs is reps together. They need reps. They need a mental. They need a mental shift in their focus, and to go into this season with a determination and stop acting like divas like they were last season, believing that they won the title before they even got to the NBA, before they got to the playoffs. And I think they'll be just fine. I'm not buying into the whole thing about that. They need reps and chemistry. That's what the team needs. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me that this is the number one thing that they need, or do you think the number one thing that they need is a point guard? Like that's going to be, that's going to fix it all. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out the video we did with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George addressing the comments, addressing the media. We're going to link that at the end of this video, so make sure you check that out. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.